Hello everybody, it's Haj here. Today's video is for fellow photographers or wannabe photographers out there looking for a great camera. So Nikon just announced the Nikon Z8, and I'm sure it's a great camera because it is actually a Z9 without battery grip. And given that I'm very satisfied with my Z9, the Z8 is also then a great camera. So you might expect that I will recommend you to pre-order a Z8, but actually I'm urging you to look completely at the opposite direction instead and have a look at DSLR camera. Before I explain why, and also before someone call me an hypocrite in the comment below, I want to say that yes, I have the Nikon Z9, and I'm using it right now to record this video. And although I really love my Z9, I cannot keep my hand away from my D500 and my D850. Looking at all the pictures that I took so far with the Z9, I would say almost all of them can be created with either of these cameras, the D500 or the D850. Some might be more difficult than the others. Definitely the Z9 made it easier, but given some time, it would be possible at some extent. I think the main advantage of mirrorless camera over DSLR cameras are, first of all, the fact that you don't need to do autofocus fine-tuning with mirrorless camera. And second, I really love this subject detection being implemented in mirrorless camera. The other features such as the electronical viewfinders or the internal body stabilization or the faster frame rates, I think I would have been fine without them. If you are looking for a camera, and then I think the question that need to be asked would be like, well, do you really need those new fancy features for your genre of photography? Are all those fancy features really worth the price? I'm not just bullshitting all those new great features in mirrorless camera. I'm using them and I like them. But for some people out there who do not want to fork 5-6 grand on a camera, I think a camera like the D850 or the D500 are still a very capable camera. They will be able to get the job done. So I think this announcement of the Nikon Z8 is actually a great news for mirrorless users, but also for people who love or want to shoot with DSLR camera, because now people who look for a mirrorless camera or fan of mirrorless camera can get a great mirrorless camera, slightly cheaper than the Z9, but still fully packed with all those great features. On the other hand, the used market will be flooded with used D500 and D850. So in terms of budget, just to give you an idea on how much money could you save, a used Z9, if you could find it, can be now bought for around 5,000 euros. If you want to get it new, it's 6,000. But the camera alone will not gonna make pictures, and to get the most out of it, maybe you want to get also a Z lenses. So let's say you are a portrait street photographer at the same time. So you might want to have then an 85 millimeters 1.8 and a 50 millimeters 1.8 along with your Z9. The 85 millimeters 1.8 will cost around 700, and the 50 millimeters will cost around 500. So in total then you will spend around 6,500 euros for a portrait and street photography gear. On the other hand, if you will move to, let's say, the D850, it can now be both used around 1,500 euro in good condition. The 85 millimeters f-mount lens, I saw them between 250 to 300 euros. And the Nifty 50 1.8 is actually around 100 or 150. So with a budget of 2,000 euro, you will be able to have a D850 plus an 85 millimeters 1.8 and a 50 millimeters 1.8 ready to work for your next portrait project and street photography project. And then you still have 4,000 euros in your bank account for other lenses or for going on a trip somewhere, for example. Someone may argue like, well, you are now comparing an F lens with the Z lens, and the Z lens are superior because they are sharper, they focus faster, and they are so silent. But I mean, yes, for videography you might be right, but for portrait photography I think the F mounts are actually fast enough. In terms of sharpness, especially when we are talking about portrait photography, we don't really need a lens that sharp. And even the 85 millimeters 1.8 or the 50 millimeters 1.8 here, I even find them too sharp, and I have to smoothen the skin of the subject quite a lot. Yes, they might not be as sharp as the Z mount lenses, especially wide open, but remember as well that in the studio you will stop down the lens most of the time. I mean, unless you just want those kind of a photo where only the eye of the person is sharp and then the rest are blurred, I think you would stop down the lens most of the time. And while we're talking about image sharpness, a field of photography where image sharpness is quite important is actually, I would say, bird photography. When it comes to bird photography, you want each little details on the feather of the animal. And I have several f-mount prime lenses. The 800 millimeters 5.6 manual lens, for example, is a 30-year-old lens, but actually still very sharp. I have the 600 millimeters f4, a 20-year-old lens, and I tell you, it performs really well even with a teleconverter. So sometimes I think image sharpness or lens sharpness is maybe a little bit overlooked. So I hope I convinced you then to get a DSLR camera, but which one to get then. My first recommendation is actually to not get a flagship camera. Nikon's flagship cameras are those cameras with named with just one number after the D letter, like the D5, the D6, and the D4. Don't get them because they are geared towards professional photographers who actually want their image as soon as possible published in magazines or newspapers. Those cameras will have few megapixels, but deliver a very clean JPEG and have a very fast autofocus, etc. Instead, get those professional grade, but not a flagship camera. Like, for example, for Nikon, there is the D850, which I have here. Or for Canon, there is the 5D Mark IV, for example. And if a crop sensor is your thing, and then nothing could beat actually the Nikon D500, or if you are a Canon shooter, and then get instead the Canon 70 Mark II. Avoid the 70 Mark I because it have quite a bad tolerance in terms of ISO. And if the Nikon D850 and the D500 are still out of your price range, and then I would recommend the Nikon D7200. It is one of my favorite Nikon crop sensor camera. In my opinion, the image quality from that camera is actually even better than the image quality from the D500. It lacks the speed of the D500, but produce a very pleasing image with very good dynamic range. So that's it for this video, and please let me know what you think in the comment below, and until next time then, bye.